We are getting ready to leave on our next sailing adventure. This year we're going to head to Bermuda, stay there for maybe a week, then get a weather window to head further south. We're going to go to St. Martin, St. Bart's, and Anguilla this year. And then we're going to head over to St. Kitts. We didn't get to spend much time in St. Kitts last time we were down there. And then head over to the Virgin Islands. And then work our way slowly back through the Bahamas. Probably stop in Cat Island again since we love that so much. And Stephen wants to do more bone fishing. And Eleuthera. And then head home. We'll probably be home about April this year. Take advantage of some of the nice spring weather here in Charleston. But I wanted to show you a little bit about our preparations. We went to Costco this year. Got smart finally and stocked up on a lot of things, meat being one of them. So it's always hard when you're on the boat trying to freeze the meat. We vacuum seal it so it stays fresher longer. And this year, I'm proud to show our meat stash. There it is, the meat stash. Now, the only challenge to this, of course, is going to be getting it in our 12-volt freezer on the boat. I'm not sure if it's all going to fit. In fact, I'm pretty sure it won't all fit. But, you know, we had to try. And whatever is left, we will just leave here and eat in April. So next we're going to cover some of the improvements that we did this summer to the boat. We were here for hurricane season and were able to really get some things done that we wanted to get done, improvements to the boat. Nothing major wrong with the boat, just improvements, things to make it nicer while we're out there sailing. We had a long list when we got here in June that we shared with you on social media, and we are happy to report that most of it's done. The important stuff's done for sure, but most of it's done, and we're super happy about that. We did Dinghy Wheels, new refrigerator in the salon, new Furler Drum line and clutch, a new stack pack sail bag, a new Code D gennaker installed with rigging, including a new compression post and bow sprit, and Trampoline. Yeah, that was a big one. Shore power breaker, a new water heater, a new Windlass Motor and Rollers, new fan motors, and fixed some hatch leaks.
The Dinghy Wheels was another project that we had on the list. We had this larger dinghy. This is a Highfield 380, roughly a 12-foot dinghy. And we put this Harken 30 horsepower Tohatsu motor on it, because I'm one who puts all the motor I can possibly get on a boat. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, we don't have the ability to beach this boat. It's just too heavy. You can't pull it up on the beach, and it's hard to get it back off of the beach as well. So we're going to give a shot at these wheels. We bought these wheels online from a good vendor. We did have to take the dinghy up on the lift and put it on the hard a little while we get this part of the wheels done. But you'll see real quick, I'll pull one of them down and actuate it, and it simply pulls out, goes down, and then locks in. So this part right here is actually a quick release. You're supposed to be able to just pull that tongue up, and then the whole wheel apparatus comes off of the back of the dinghy. You can store it, you can take it with you, whatever. However, if you don't have a completely flat surface, almost a machined surface on your transom, that thing won't fit right, and we ran into that problem on this Highfield. It was really, really lumpy back here once we put that on. You literally can't get that handle up to take the wheel off. I can tap it with a hammer and get it up though. So to put it back, once you get it on the boat, simply pull it down, and it comes back up and locks in place.
We had to get a new refrigerator on the boat because it was no longer keeping the ice cream frozen.
We had to put a new refrigerator in the boat. We did struggle with the old one that we had for quite some time. I'll let Don talk more about that. So my job obviously was the install of the fridge.
Here is what the refrigerator space looks like without a refrigerator. If you've never taken yours out, It's a huge cavernous space back here. I can't imagine that you've never had yours out, because we've taken ours out at least 10 times to get to one component or another that is behind the refrigerator. But that's the cutting that we had to do to actually get the new refrigerator to fit in. So it all works well.
So it was bigger than the other fridge that we had, that 2-drawer Vitro fridge we had. So we did have to make a couple of cuts in the cabinetry. It wasn't really a big deal to do it. We got it in nice and solid. So I think it's going to be a great new addition, actually. We have a lot of other friends that have used this one as opposed to the old one. The freezer works better. And we did hook it up to the 12-volt system, so we're pretty much running on 12-volt all the time with the ability to plug in the 110 if we need it.
It's got a bottle holder at the top. It's got a shelf, which I haven't put in quite yet, and should be really, really good. I'm probably going to add some more kind of pull-out shelves in order to make it easier to get things that are way in the back. It's isotherm CR200. A lot of Leopard people have put these into their boats, so we just followed suit and did our own installation, and we're good to go.
We replaced the Furler Drum on this Furler. You guys might remember this sail dropped on us when we were coming back from the Bahamas, so we had a problem with the Furler on the top, and we had a problem with the drum down here. It was actually still working, and it was in good shape, but I needed to replace the furling line, which you have to put a knot on the inside of the Furler, and I couldn't get it apart. So again, it was still working. I could have just tied the rope around the old Furler and used it, but I figured down the road there might be a problem that I need to take that thing apart, and if I can't get it apart, it'll be a bigger problem. So went ahead and spent the money and put a new drum on it.
And a new line.
And new furling line and a new clutch aft. So we had a little bit of a larger furling line on there, and that was slipping some, so that clutch was just worn out. So we put a new clutch on the furler line back there.
All good.
Yeah.
It's an important sail we use a lot, right?
Oh yeah, all the time, and easy to get in and out. We want to keep it that way.
Yep.
Those many hurricane season projects we did, we also needed a new stack pack or a Lazy Jack sail bag. Ours was the original one, believe it or not, from 2015, but it finally did give up after we had repaired it a couple times. North Sails built this for us. I think they did a really great job. We've got the cover all the way fore and aft on it, around the mast as well. We also have brand new Dyneema Lazy Jacks all the way up to the halyards that we originally had on the boat. And those Lazy Jack halyards were relatively new anyway, so it's nice to have this brand new bag up here. It looks like it was a really great job by them, and it'll be fun to see if it goes back into the bag as neatly as we think it will.
Probably the biggest project we have done this season, and actually part of last season, is adding a compression post, a bow sprit, and a code sail.
So we'll talk about all of the different things that we had to do to get a technically code D sail on our Leopard 48. And besides just the sail itself and the furling system for the sail, obviously there was an enormous amount of other components that we had to put on the boat that were not already there from the factory. That included, of course, the compression post, which is the component that goes from the hull to the cross beam in the front of the boat. That splits the trampoline that was on the boat, so it also required a new split trampoline that we placed on it. Next component would be, of course, the bow sprit itself, which goes forward of the cross beam out in front of the bow to hold the sail out to the end of it. The pad eyes that went down at the bottom of the hulls to hold the stays that go up to the bow sprit. And then we did have to cut inspection ports into the crash box in order to put those pad eyes and the backing plates on there. Most all of those components, which are the hard components, the hard rigging for the boat, compression post, bow sprit, pad eyes, all had to be done by order from SparCraft in South Africa. I tried my best to get things from the United States, but I just couldn't find anybody that could put that piece together for me. The boys at SparCraft in South Africa did a superb job. I made a couple of measurements for them. They supplied all of those components along with the mounting brackets that I needed for those, and they all went in place perfectly when we put the thing together there on the boat. It also requires a real high quality, high end rivet gun to put those plates on there in order to mount those particular components. So that riveting process was a bit of a challenge as well, and drilling the holes into the crossbeam and to the hull to be able to place those components together. The split trampoline that we chose, we had the standard Leopard 48 white full trampoline on the boat, and since we put the compression post in, we had to get a split trampoline. We bought that from Sunrise Products. We bought the black Dyneema split trampoline, which is a really nice trampoline. It's comfortable to walk on. It's easy to see through, which is really nice. So if you got the dolphins under the boat or something like that, it's easy to be able to see through that split trampoline. It too was a challenge to put on. That's definitely a 2-people job, and plan on most of your afternoon to be able to put that in place properly. We had to double check, of course, the spinnaker halyard, and then we had a bad shiv box in the mast. Turns out that we'd been flying a parasailer there for a while, struggled to get it in a few times to get the halyard down, found that the shiv was broken in the shiv box, so I had to replace that whole shiv box, and we upgraded that to a Delrin shiv in there as well, and that helped us a lot. So we put that together, but it was difficult to find that particular component. If you want to know how, just reach out. We'll let you know how we did that.
While I was up there, I repaired the wiring on the tri-light. That's an important light when we're offshore sailing. It was corroded up very badly, so now it's in place.
We mounted all of those different components, the majority of them, compression posts, the bow sprit, the pad eyes, etc., really in a couple of days. A friend of mine and I did that together, keeping in mind, of course, that we had to break into, if you will, the crash box forward, put those inspection plates in, drill and tap the holes in there, and then put the backing plate on there for those pad eyes. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but we did do that in the water and got that done no problem. Same thing on the compression post and the bow sprit. We had the rivet gun material that we needed. We had the drill, equipment that we needed to be able to mount those brackets in and put both of those components in place. So that worked quite easily and quite well. We did also, of course, have to put the continuous furling line in, the fair leads that run that furling line from the bow all the way back to the cockpit, the blocks that were required for the furling line, and the blocks that were required for the starboard and port sheets for the sail as well. So all of those components had to be put together, put in place properly, and then run all of those lines back up to the helm to be able to control the sail. The performance of the sail, it's still new to us. We've just tried it. It is a top-down furling sail. And so that's a new challenge for us, and I think it is for a lot of people when they first use a sail like that. We've not used it enough to completely get that down pat. We hope that we're going to be comfortable with it to be able to get it to start furling at the top and then continue to furl from the bottom up. But that is a new challenge for us. So we did sail it here just recently, and we had extremely light winds of 6 knots, maybe 7 at best. We were in the 5-knot range as well, and the boat was sailing easily at 4 knots and 3.5 knots when it was in the lower wind. So we were really pleased that we got the sail out, got it in those really light winds, and we were able to move the boat at a comfortable speed.
So we want to talk about the sail that we ended up purchasing here for this code sail. We went to 4 different manufacturers on it, and everybody did a really great job of giving us what they thought we needed for the boat and what the best sail would be in their repertoire that they had. We did end up going with North sails on it, and mostly because we had worked with them before. They supplied our 2 other sails we have, the main sail and the Genoa. They did a great job on that. The local service that I get from the North Sails guys is bar none the best, so that really drove us to the decision on going with the North Sails on that. We ended up with technically a Code D sail, and it's a big sail for the boat. That sail goes from about 50 degrees to 130 degrees apparent wind, and it does that very, very well. Some people do like to think that it's a downwind sail, but it's not. It's really, in that degrees that I just mentioned a moment ago, and it does a superb job of that. We did sail it the other day, and we were probably on a beam reach there with only about 6.5 knots of wind, and we had, 4.5 knots of forward momentum on that, so we were really pleased about that. The North Sail's one that we chose is their Code Tech, what they call their Helix cruising sail. That is a 3.1 ounce material, very lightweight, with a nice torsion cable on it and the furling system on it as well. It's a little bit of a challenge to get up and down, that one initial time of getting it up the halyard just because of the weight of it, and that is mostly in the furling system and the torsion cable that's on the sail as well. But it looks like it's a really good sail for that wind angle. Easy one for Dawn and I to deploy and to douse, and that was really the main thing that we were looking for. A good sail that we could use on a regular basis without a lot of effort, and we think we've got that.
It is a 3.1 ounce material that's in the sail. It's 140 square meters, so it is a big sail for the boat, but I think it's going to really work out great for us.
We also did replace this breaker right here. You can see it's a different color, red versus that one over there. We kept tripping the number 1 shore power switch in the breaker panel, and it just wouldn't stop. So we checked everything out. We'd already replaced the receptacles some time ago for the shore power hookup on the boat. I checked the back end of those, and they all looked really good. No corrosion there. So I had a fishy feeling that this breaker was a problem. I replaced it. We've not tripped it since, so we do think we got that corrected. I mentioned it, though, because we did have a difficult time finding that breaker. Ended up buying it, I think, out of Europe or somewhere like that, but you literally couldn't find them very easily, and it's a good spare to have on board.
We put up with the breaker tripping on and on and on for a very long time, troubleshooting this in foreign countries, right? It's just difficult because you couldn't get a new one anyhow, so it didn't matter. But given us this time here at home, we were able to source it and get it shipped in while we were here and put it in.
And a spare.
So we also replaced the water heater in the guest cabin. One water heater for both of the heads over here on the guest hall that we have. It had a slight freshwater leak where it's mounted on the shelf there. I knew it was leaking, couldn't find the leak anywhere without actually pulling the unit out. So I went ahead and bought a new unit just in case. We pulled it out. Sure enough, it had real severe corrosion at the connection points actually on the water heater itself. So there's welded connections on the water heater pressure vessel, and it was corroded through there and leaking there. So we wouldn't have never stopped that leak. So that's an 11-gallon Kumato water heater. It's the same as what I pulled out of it, although I believe previously they had 5 or 6-gallon units in these boats. So nice to have that 11-gallon unit in there. We've never had anybody complain about not having enough hot water.
And surprisingly, our side of the boat, which gets more use, the water heater doesn't have any issues. So not sure quite why this one had issues, but it's all good and improved.
The anchor on the list. We lost our windlass when we were in the Bahamas. We were able to borrow a windlass motor from another boat. So we did have to buy a new motor and then change that out again here. Took out the borrowed motor and I got that shipped back to him. And we put a new motor in it. So we got a brand new windlass motor. That's real good. And we got a spare as well. We also replaced all the anchor rollers as well. We'd actually done it a year ago, and the guy that made them for us, he's a great guy, and he had recommended a little bit of a different style, which ended up having a flat rather than a cone shape, and the chain always rode up on the flat place of the roller. So we had him redo our anchor rollers, give it more of that chamfered look for the anchor and the chain to go into the center roll. So it's worked great. And then the last thing we did was we took the anchor swivel off. So a lot of people use that anchor swivel. A lot of people lose their anchor because of the anchor swivel. Believe it or not, it's usually the breaking point of your ground tackle. In fact, the boat right behind us, a little small whaler, he lost his anchor. I looked at it, and sure enough, it was the swivel. So the swivel had corroded in the center, it broke, and he lost a nice stainless steel anchor, and that thing probably $1,500 though.
Went to try and retrieve it with a big magnet, right?
Yeah, he asked me, "You got a big magnet?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Is that thing made of iron?" He goes, "No, it's stainless." I said, "Well, magnet won't do you any good." So it's still out there, unfortunately.
Maybe we could go hook it with our anchor.
Well, the problem is, there's nothing but the shank sticking up there because it broke off at the swivel at the shank, so it's hard to grab anything with a grappling hook or anything like that.
Too bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a goner.
The new Anchor windlass motor made a huge difference. It is speedy. It is powerful. I guess it's more dangerous now. I've never had a fear of getting my finger caught before, but this thing moves, so I'll be more careful.
But we replaced multiple motors in the fans that we have in all the cabins and up here in the galley as well. We find we get about 2 years out of them. And we go back to Camp Free on that, and they're kind enough to sell us new motors. Relatively easy to replace, but an important factor as well. And then on these, they have that chrome finished fan cover on it, and those things just turn green within a matter of about 30 to 60 days once you're offshore.
And they collect dust.
So right now we've got it off, and it's fine. We do clean them up, and they're available, but we like it fine. So hatch leaks, those were a major thing that was on our list. They weren't leaking really bad, but they definitely did in some heavy rain. And then, if you're in a heavy sea, we had some leak conditions as well. So I thought that I was going to rebed all these hatches that we have on the boat, which is an enormous undertaking anyway. And I did look at these particular two big hatches here. So you can see the hatch, how it's bedded into the fiberglass here. I did try to pull all those screws. I did get them all out. And I did try to pull the flange out for the hatch, and it was not budging 1 single centimeter of an inch. So I chose to abort that situation because you would bend the hatch. Once you bend it, you can't use it again. So instead, we felt like the ingress was coming around, the metal part of the hatch that's bedded down. So we took a nice caulk, bead of caulk all the way around the edge of it. And we think that's going to help us with that water problem. Also replaced these major gaskets, the big gaskets on the top. Put some silicone paste on those. Hopefully we're in good shape now.
The test will come.
Yeah, it really came this week a little bit. I don't see any water in there. We had major downpours the last couple of nights. This one always leaked a little bit. So
Yeah, it did.
I think between these two, if we're not seeing water, I think we're in good shape.
Cool.
Yeah. That would be good to have. No more musty hatches.
Where next? Follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get announcements, and follow us on YouTube for more videos. If you like this video, you'll love the rest of our maintenance videos. Just find the playlist in the box here and click on that for all of our maintenance videos. They are our most popular.